A little bit over a week ago. Geeks and nerds from across the planet gathered in Los Angeles for E3, the big entertainment expo, all about gaming, and we sent our own turbo geek, Jay Cormier, down there. How was it, Jay?
Oh my goodness, it was insane. I'm telling you, there were so many people there. Just like, you even heard of other geek things like the San Diego Comic-Con, just like a bunch of geeks. But this one, they're all press or media type people that are invited to go to that. So I was actually quite surprised of how many people are press or media.
This is your first big conference, wasn't it?
Yes,
yeah,
yes.
You got the big eyes. Going to all the Comdexes for all those years and all the Macworlds, I got to admit, I'm a little bit jaded about them. And I don't miss going to them and walking through hall after hall. Although E3 might be a little bit more fun because it is about entertainment.
It really is, so much so that every vendor there had not just a booth with like some signs and some games to play. It was like a big construct, like an actual city block with like a castle and a dragon. Like it was crazy how big everything was.
Well, the money involved is it's huge. I mean,
it's still a very profitable business.
Is the gaming industry bigger than the film industry?
It has been for a couple years now. It's been surpassed.
So that much money. So what was the interesting how it's polarized now. The whole expo seems to be focused around three players now.
Yeah, absolutely. You got obviously the Xbox from Microsoft, Nintendo, and the Sony PlayStation, and they even have conferences kind of right before the actual convention starts for just press, and they come and they give a big show, and it's where they make all the major announcements of what's going to happen for the next year, and it's really exciting.
So. Let's start just with Microsoft with the Xbox. I think probably more of our listeners, being a little bit more of a mature crowd, might be gravitating towards the Xbox a little bit more than some of the other platforms. What's new in the Microsoft world?
Well, I mean, they obviously there's two things. They talked about games and they talked about some hardware / infrastructure with regards to their Xbox Live that they talked about. On the games, they start off with their big ticket right off the bat, which is Call of Duty Modern Warfare 3. Modern Warfare 2 is the biggest game last year of all games, and so this is now the third one. And so they showed some scenes from that. I'm not a first-person shooter, the kind where you see yourself holding the gun and you're, walking around shooting. I'm not huge on those, so it didn't blow me away. But everyone else, seemed to be clapping and applauding that kind of thing.
Now, they managed to bring out a new version of that only a year after their old one, which is kind of the holy grail as far as gaming goes.
Yeah, absolutely. They're probably already working on part 4 already.
I imagine that. So the first person shooter, that's in the realism is almost disturbing.
It really is. I mean, you can't really get too much better than that unless it's a movie or something. It's pretty fantastic. Following the realism, you remember the old franchise Tomb Raider?
Yes.
Yeah. So it's back.
Lara Croft.
Yes. So she's back, and now it's super realistic. And they showed a very extended long intro demo from that, and it looked amazing
for Xbox. This is.
Yeah.
Now this is a thing that we're finding is they're franchises within the gaming world where you've got the Call of Duty, you've got the Tomb Raider, you've got the they really fall back on their roots and honor their roots. And
I think it's funny in the game world compared to a movie world. In games, a sequel is always sought after because, and I think in a game to get a sequel, it's got to be a good quality game. Whereas a movie to get a sequel doesn't necessarily have to be a good quality; it just had to have made money. You know what I mean? So, but in the game world, oftentimes sequels are great, are better. They tweak things. Oftentimes more so than the movies.
Well, in Xbox, certainly that was the case with their whole Halo series. Now, is there something new on the Halo front?
Yeah,
I like the Halo.
There you go. Well, they announced a Halo Anniversary, which is going to be combining a bunch of old Halo stuff and revamping all the graphics, make it all HD and multiplayer, and that's kind of to tide you over. The very last thing they showed you was a Halo 4 teaser, and that got everyone chills.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Not much. They didn't show much. Just him, Master Chief, floating in space and stuff like that. But
the Halo franchise for old Mac people is, I don't know if you know about the roots of Halo, but
Manhattan
Marathon.
Marathon. That's
Marathon,
right. Yeah.
The Bungie software of Seattle,
Crazy,
I believe.
Yeah.
They created a Mac game called Marathon, which we used to play way back in the day, and that of course became Halo. So the Xbox. Now the other big thing about Xbox is all of the motion sensing and the realism stuff with their Xbox Connect.
That's right, Connect. Yeah. So they're really putting a lot of eggs in this basket, and they've got a lot of games lined up that are use Connect in different ways. Whether it's a shooting game and you're actually kind of fake holding a gun, as in the Ghost Recon Tom Clancy game, and you're actually shooting the gun. That's just kind of weird, even though you're not holding anything. Okay. To a Star Wars game, so imagine being in the Star Wars and using the
Yeah.
Force and all this kind of
Okay.
stuff. And then they're even going into the Xbox Live interface. So when you just load up Xbox screen and you got that dashboard. So now they're going to include some Xbox Connect via voice control. So now you can actually control by saying things.
By voice as well.
Yeah.
Now we should kind of roll back just for a moment and explain to anybody that's not listening that doesn't say, what are we talking about?
What the heck's Connect?
It's basically a camera that sits on top of your television that looks back at you and allows you to use your body as a remote control.
Yeah, so there's no controller in your hands whatsoever. Yeah, exactly true.
And the technology it uses basically uses technology that's, I guess, built into really compression. Compression, the nature of compression is it looks for differences between pixels. So the nature of how Kinect works is it takes a picture of the background behind you and then looks at the foreground of how it changes of you being projected.
Because it can know the depth even. Absolutely.
Yeah, so things like dancing and shooting a bow and arrow and
Yes.
bowling and any of those sorts of motions can be quite accurately represented in Kinect. But Microsoft wasn't the only player
Correct.
playing the motion game. What was the other motion stuff happening?
So with Sony, they had what's called the Move, and that's very similar to what the Wii did, but Sony's obviously the PlayStation 3 is in high definition, and so they have something called the Move, and it's a wand you hold in one hand, and if game requires it, another little joysticky dongle thing in your other hand. And they had a bunch of things that could integrate with the Move. They put a lot of eggs in that basket as well. Whether it's sticking the wand into this actual plastic gun and you play Resistance 3 and move around with a controller right here on the gun and
shoot
at things. Absolutely. They had one called Medieval Moves, that seemed like a much more friendly, trying to get a mass audience interested in game, but still a bit more serious.
Now, imagine in that case, the remote control becomes a sword, which I would think would be the good thing for that.
That was my favorite part about that game, is that it had 3 weapons, and depending on how you use the moved wand, if you went back to reach for an arrow, then all of a sudden you pull out your bow and arrow. You don't have to select bow and arrow, you just have a bow and arrow. If you just start swinging your arm around, it's a sword. If you kind of chuck it like a ninja star, it's ninja stars. And you don't ever have to choose your weapon, it just happens.
Are the games like you've gamed?
Oh, I've from time to time.
From time to time. Are these physical motion controllers going to become de rigueur, or are people more? I mean, we're talking couch potatoes here. We're talking people that are used to sitting down, developing a bit of a hunchback, and kind of working over their controls. Are these physical motion controls, or is it more gimmicky?
It started off as amazing with the Wii Sports, and everyone loved it, and everyone got into it, and then it's gone gimmicky for a while. And so now there's actually some companies that are trying to rein it back, and as is evident in some of these cases, they're not. Like the Ghost Recon one, I wasn't really impressed with the miming of a gun.
Yeah.
That was silly to me. I don't know. It didn't look really responsive. But the one you were taking the bow and arrow, that seemed pretty cool. Or what about Mass Effect 3? That's a huge franchise for Xbox, and they have Kinect involved, but only with voice control. But you need the Kinect because it's got the microphone and everything like that. And then you can command your people where to go.
Okay. We're going to take a quick break because we got lots more to talk about. We haven't even started to talk about the world of Nintendo, which is
big announcements.
Which is changing. So we're going to take a quick break and come back with more with Jay Cormier right here on Dotto Tech.